Don't touch the sphere.
What? This sphere? Oops.
So this is Spacelords, a free-to-play third-person shooter developed and published by Mercury Steam. Not to be confused with Jupiter Uplay. You get it? Because like it's a planet and a storefront where you can buy games and... Oh, shut up, that was hilarious. Previously known as Raiders of the Broken Planet, this game was initially released in September of 2017, before being rebranded as Spacelords and going free to play in August of 2018. And looking at the Steam page for this game, it's had a bit of a rough reception, to put it lightly. And honestly, after playing this game for a while, I can kind of understand some of the complaints that a lot of players had and still have about this game, but then again, I also think this game also does a lot of stuff right and can be a ton of fun to play. So here's the deal, when you first boot up the game, there's a pretty cool intro cutscene that does a decent job of setting up the crazy over-the-top world of Spacelords, as well as having perhaps the most appropriate use of licensed music in the history of any game ever. You get it? Because it's the name of the game. Surprisingly enough, there is an actual story here, with 4 separate campaigns that all more or less tie together in one overall narrative. It's not award-winning by any means, but it's fun enough to be entertaining, and the lore you can read up on in the main menu is surprisingly interesting. So with all that story junk out of the way, let's just dive into the gameplay, shall we? Like I said earlier, Spacelords is, for the most part, a mission-based third-person shooter. These missions can be anything from rescue missions to desperate escape attempts to surprisingly fun and engaging boss battles to quite possibly the slowest and most painful escort missions in the history of gaming, and oh my gosh, Snyder, would you just move? So in these missions, you mainly just do standard third-person shooter stuff. You run around, you shoot the bad guys, you try not to get shot by the bad guys, and you run into cover if you get shot too much by the bad guys. You get the idea. However, Spacelords does a decent amount to switch up this fairly standard formula. For one thing, this game takes a lot of inspiration from hero shooters like Overwatch and Team Fortress 2, with a large cast of different characters and creative weapons. You can unlock a wide variety of characters with different strengths, weaknesses, guns, abilities, and playstyles. The one main ability per character thing may not seem like a lot at first, but Mercury Steam has done a really good job at making each character's ability useful and relevant to the character's intended playstyle. For example, Hive does most of her damage by shooting nearby enemies and sapping away their health, which would be dangerous except for the fact that her ability allows her to store up enemy health and give it to herself. Or take Lycus, otherwise known as Mr. Me Too.
If I were anything but calm, you and your friend here would be missing your heads!
Nice sweetheart.
Good God, man, it's
Current year.
His weapons are primarily close-range shotguns, so he has a momentum-based shield that recharges faster the more you move, incentivizing you to keep pushing forward. In addition to this, each class of character manages stress differently. Whenever your Spacelord stress meter gets too full, their entire nervous system glows and can be seen through walls, their health won't recharge, and enemies will target them more often. As a general rule, characters with more health will manage stress poorer than characters with less health, with a few exceptions. Unfortunately, these characters have to keep fighting against endless hordes of robots and can't do what everyone else does when their proverbial stress meter gets too full. That being lie down on the couch with a tub of cookie dough and cry themselves to sleep. That's what everyone does, right guys? That's what we all, oh, don't look at me like that. To reduce your stress, duck into cover, or, just stop being shot long enough for your stress meter to go down and you should be okay. There's also Aleph, a mysterious powerful substance that can give you superhuman abilities. You can also shoot it to blow it up and damage enemies, but I honestly wouldn't recommend that in most cases. You need to keep picking up Aleph, both to make yourself stronger, as well as to power up or speed up objectives around the map. Now, as I was in the process of making this video, the way you acquired Aleph changed a bit. Now, instead of killing elite enemies for it, you have to pick up Aleph from predetermined spawn points from around the map. In my opinion, this should probably be changed back. Heck, I'd be happy if they kept both methods of gathering Aleph, as it seems to me there's not as many reliable ways to gather this stuff as I'd like. But these mechanics and systems aren't nearly as important as the last one I'm going to talk about, the melee combat. You see, you're not really supposed to kill every enemy you see by shooting them repeatedly in the face. You can also get up close and personal. Spacelord's melee combat system revolves around a sort of rock, paper, scissors system of strikes, dodges, and grapples. In a nutshell, strikes beat grapples, grapples beat dodges, and dodges beat strikes. A strike is quick and does a decent amount of damage to your opponent. A grapple takes a bit to wind up and has a very obvious tell, but if it lands, it's an instant kill on whatever you're grappling, and the dodge is, come on, it's a dodge. I really shouldn't have to explain this to you. And honestly, most of the time this melee combat feels fantastic. Everything seems well animated, strikes feel quick and responsive, and the grappler and finisher animations will never not feel satisfying. It can, however, feel a bit clunky at times. Sometimes strikes or grapples won't seem to connect. I'll hit a button to counter whatever my opponent is doing and my character won't react at all, or will get hit anyway, and being grabbed and insta-killed by an elite enemy you didn't see coming can be incredibly frustrating. These problems can be especially apparent if you're going toe-to-toe with an antagonist. Oh yeah, I guess I should probably talk about the whole antagonist system, seeing how it's a big selling point for this game. Basically, players can choose to raid each other's missions with the sole intention of keeping the raiders from finishing the mission, either by stopping them from completing their objectives or by killing them until they run out of lives. As an antagonist, you have unlimited respawns, you can try to pick off raiders one at a time, and you can command troops to target particular players. To be honest, I'm a little conflicted about how I feel about this system. Most of the time, it can be pretty cool. Invading other players' games and wrecking up their missions gave me that same cruel feeling of satisfaction that kicking over my little brother's sandcastle used to give me, and being invaded by an antagonist can add a nice little challenge that keeps familiar maps exciting. Other times though, this system can be immensely frustrating. Failing a mission that you know exactly how to pull off because your team can't quite come together and fight off the antagonist is incredibly annoying, especially if you're a relatively new player trying to take on an antagonist about 200 levels higher than you, which, because of this game's low player count, happens a bit more often than it should. Also, the rewards for being an antagonist don't really seem to be worth it. In my experience, being an antagonist is a lot harder than simply completing a mission, and most of the time you're not going to be able to shut down the enemy team completely. I feel like the rewards should reflect that, and that being a decent antagonist should net you better rewards than what it does currently, even if you don't stop the other team completely. Speaking of rewards, and slightly forced segues, this game's monetization system is... What the heck was that noise? Okay, re-record that. That was really bad. Basically, for each mission, you can earn a few different things as rewards. Experience points to level up, gold to buy new heroes and guns, combat points that you can use to unlock different cards in order to spec out your characters, and blueprints for unlocking the option to build new weapons. Now, this reward system is alright. The amount of gold and combat points you earn gets severely restricted after playing about 5 matches in a day, so while you earn a decent amount in the first few rounds you play, it gets pretty restricted as you go on. You used to only be able to earn XP in the first 5 games you played every day, which was really rough for new players who wanted to unlock new missions and heroes, but now it looks like you can grind out XP indefinitely just like gold, which is appreciated. But honestly, I feel like the rate with which you earn all this stuff should be upped a bit, and there is really a desperate need for a more reliable way to earn blueprints. Honestly, these reward systems aren't terrible, and I appreciate that this game's monetization system doesn't just let you straight up buy power. My main problem with it is that there seems to be absolutely no way to earn this game's premium currency without paying real money for it. Now, everything you can buy with premium currency is cosmetic, but I mean, come on, Mercury's team. Customizing characters and making them look cool is a huge part of live service games like this, and not having any way to earn almost any of these awesome and really well designed skins outside of buying them with real money feels pretty bad when so many other free-to-play games let you earn cosmetics and premium currency simply through gameplay. Admittedly grindy gameplay, but I mean, this is a free-to-play game here, we should know what we're getting into. Looking back on everything I just said, it may sound like I have some major problems with this game, and don't get me wrong, Spacelords isn't by any means a perfect game. Heck, originally I had a video planned that was over double the length of this one, going into an insane amount of detail over what works and what doesn't in this game, but eventually I came to realize that 1, that would take a long time and I'm very lazy, and 2, that despite this game's problems, I really like it as a whole. Its lore is interesting, and its story, while not award-winning by any means, is pretty entertaining. Its gameplay is fun and fast-paced, and the devs seem to have a genuine passion for this game, and the roadmap they have laid out seems like it could fix quite a few of my concerns. I really don't think that Spacelords deserve the incredibly negative review score it has on Steam right now. It may not be perfect, but if you're willing to dive in and try it out, Spacelords might just pleasantly surprise you. Also, real quick, can we talk about the fact that half the characters in this game are wearing like shrink wrap and the other half are shirtless? I mean, don't get me wrong, these character designs look pretty cool and all, but I think some of these characters would appreciate some armor and, Look, I really don't want to keep getting weird looks from my roommates whenever I play as Alicia, alright? Hello everyone, thank you so much for watching the video. And I also just really want to thank everyone who subscribed to this channel so far. We are almost at 1,000 subscribers, which is admittedly more than I thought I would get when I first started this, but I really appreciate it. Thank you guys, it's a huge milestone. If you are new to the channel and like this video, like the video. That's why they put that like button there. And if you do want to subscribe to the channel to see more of the stuff I do, you can do that with your hand and your brain, and you can click the button. Please do that for me. Thank you. Have a good day. That was so weird. Why did I phrase it?